traders or foreign businessmen. This is a hot topic in many countries from time to time, because trade and business has become global. It is no longer a situation where you say you can live with the old protectionism and isolate and lock out others. It's not possible. So what we need to do as a nation is always to ensure that we have the proper balance between the traders or the business people who come in to invest in our country and the Kenyan businessmen who are doing their work here. And I say so because, Mr. Ligedi, it may be of interest to you that one of the largest foreign direct investors in Uganda are Kenyans. And in the region, Kenyans are huge investors in the region. Some have moved away because of punitive taxation here, and they found it easier to invest in those countries, and they're creating jobs in the region, and they're earning resources. I don't have to mention all of them, but you can talk about Bidco, you can talk, they're investing in the region. So when we talk about how do we manage our relationship with the foreigners, we should not approach it from a xenophobic angle. Xenophobic is, we have seen it. We saw what happened in some countries in the south where certain nationals were being subjected to beatings and inhuman treatment. We should not fall into that trap, because even we as Kenyans, you find your way to China for your merchandise. You import from there. Sometimes you are forced to go there and stay even for 1 month sourcing these products so that you can bring them here. So we need to balance, because how would it be if, for instance, you are blocked from going to that country, or if you are mistreated in that country? So we need to be very careful in terms of our trade policy, in terms of being sure that we can attract foreign direct investment. We can also attract trade, all right? But we must balance it through proper policies, but not through discriminative approaches. Not a xenophobic approach, but let us look at it from a business perspective and rationalize our arrangements. That is what a civilized nation should do. Some questions. I will look for Governor Sakaja and tell him there are very hot issues here. How to manage the balance between the small-scale traders or hawkers and the ones who pay rates to the county government and so forth. This is a challenge, and I'm sure there are two former governors here. They'll also speak to it, hopefully. Lonyangapuoat and Professor Kibwana, who was also my teacher. They will perhaps throw in something here on this particular conversation. But all I can say is that going forward, county governments and indeed even the national government will have to do more in providing well-organized spaces within our urban centers and within the rural areas to allow the small-scale traders to have decent trading places for their businesses. That is something that we'll have to work on as we go forward. And as I said, These are not instant coffee solutions, but they are solutions that require constant, planned, and protracted investment in some of these areas. I agree that the portion of 30% tendering is not necessarily going to the beneficiaries, intended beneficiaries. That's a fact. Women, youth, people with disability, people are taking your portion in your name. So one of the things that I know the government is pushing hard is to fast track the process of e-procurement and to be able to leverage more on technology in this space so that we can have better results in ensuring that the intended people can be beneficiaries. Because the traditional way is showing us very clearly there's a lot of cheating and the intended people do not benefit. So technology may be our solution as we move forward. The young man from Alliance, the school. Yeah? Is it the school or the school? The school. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the young man from Alliance, Amon, was it? Amon? Yeah. He's right that we need to work more on the whole democracy and what is supposed to be good practices in democracy. And this is where I commend the Center for Multi-Party Democracy when they help in bringing this kind of fora on the table on a regular basis so that we can learn to appreciate that competition can be healthy and competition should be healthy, and then we should learn to live with that and then provide fair practices within that competition. Now, the whole arena of elections in Kenya has been a challenge. You know, whether it is elections in the parties, whether it is elections in cooperatives, whether it is elections in land buying companies, whether it is elections for the parliament or for the senate, we've always had challenges. But we are making progress. We are making progress. I see that in the years to come, because our systems are being tested, you know, if we go back and we look at how the elections were before, and then we come to a situation where we have seen that you can go through an election, then you have institutions like the Supreme Court which can nullify an election. In 2017, we saw the Supreme Court nullify an election and order for a repeat. We have seen it also even in parliamentary. In 2017, as an example, if I give statistics, I think there are over 300 petitions across the country, whether at county government level or at parliamentary and senate levels, or just say parliamentary levels. There are about 300 petitions. If you check the elections that we have just come out of about 6 months ago, the number of petitions filed across the board has reduced drastically from that high figure of 300 plus, which means that somewhere along the line there are some positive steps that are coming through in this electoral processes. We need to continue working on the IEBC in this country, equipping them better, having them better resourced, training people, and ensuring their safety. Ensuring their safety. Because we also have a bad history where election officials in Kenya have lost their lives. If we want to consolidate democracy, we should make sure that all employees of the IEBC are guaranteed of their security so that they are not mobbed or harassed in any part of the country at all. And as I speak with a lot of insider information that if the electoral body had not stood firm in this immediate election, this country would have seen something perhaps even worse than the 2007-2008 episode. This was the first time we are seeing a situation where people who are not directly involved with the management of elections heading into the National Tallying Center and trying to demand the reversal or alteration of results. What saved this country was also technology. Because what was on the portal is exactly what came from the polling stations. Now that is a serious advancement in our democratic process. They are slow, they may be baby steps, but they are very significant steps in making sure that we improve on our democratic processes and our election. And I can tell you that a lot of the observers, the international observers, the local observers, acknowledge that this was one of the better times that technology has leveraged and delivered good and realistic and honest results that reflect the will of the people of Kenya. So we still have a journey to go, but we are moving in the right direction. Musadavi, pending bills. Where is he? Actually, you talked only of the county government, but I may shock Kenyans today because the total pending bills on record so far are over 1 trillion Kenya shillings. And I've not talked about those that are in courts where judgment is pending or processes are being had, but that is the magnitude of the challenge that we have. Now, we have a major task because these bills must be verified. Because definitely a good chunk of them are either fictitious or seriously inflated. So there has to be a very thorough audit process to verify these bills before they can be settled. The challenges are immense on this one, because when you don't settle your pending bills, and I'm talking of the valid and verified ones, you are punishing people unfairly. Businesses are going bust. Auctioneers are moving into people's premises. People are losing jobs because of these high pending bills. And if you do not inject money through the right way of settling pending bills, you will not spur the economy. You will not spur the economy. But ladies and gentlemen, we are the government. We have been voted in. It's our duty to now solve these issues. But I want to ask you, is it possible that you could have pending bills of 1 trillion plus having accumulated just from the last election? Is it possible? It's not possible. That means these are issues that have arisen over a period of time. And that is why I said there is a series of either commissions or omissions that cumulatively put you into a hotspot. We are in a hotspot to be able to tackle some of these pending bills. What does it mean? It means that we must do much more on financial discipline, both at the county government level and at the national level. Are we committing procedurally where there is a budget that is approved so that you commit on that basis? Are we signing off those contracts after going through the process? If not, then we will not solve our pending bills problem. And they normally say, "Dawa deni ni nini?" So as a government, we have to remember that there is that businessman in Kiambu, there's that businessman in Mandera, there's that businessman in Kisumu who built a road, who built a school, who supplied something and has not been paid, but his banker is now auctioning him. So we have to work to solve some of these issues. Now, I hope I'm not painting a gloomy picture. I'm trying to put Kenyans in a realistic place. Once we appreciate that, then we will find solutions together. And we are equal to the task, all of us. And we must look at technology as a place that we must leverage on. Finally, for the Professor Mbutu, I want to agree with you that we must leverage on the academia, we must leverage on research so that we have accurate data to support us in our decision making. We must continue working against leakages and wastage in public office. We must improve on our revenue collection. And we must also become innovative and figure out how we can even leverage and support universities in a different way. I'm sure you know that in most of the other countries, universities are funded more through research, maybe 60% research and 40% other commitments, maybe the school fees and what have you. But unfortunately, we have been living in a situation where almost 90% of our universities here are being funded through the payments. That is not sustainable. So we will have to figure out, and there are experts like yourself and others who can give us ideas to break away from that cycle so that we can have alternative funding mechanisms for universities so that they can be more sustainable. I think that was the first round. I think I can only manage one more round because of time, and then I'll have to go.
Thank you so much. Can you give him a better hand clap? He's been very patient in response and very candid. I think that is the kind of conversation that we... The very last round, I think I have a gentleman here who had requested before we start. I want to give you the good lady here, so number 2. And then I give to the gentleman here, number 3. And I think to the good lady here, number 4. And I think the gentleman... and this the lady here, number 5. I think that we can only do that. The rest is that way, kuna venye will respond baadaye. Thank you so much. Can we start with the gentleman here, please?
Thank you. My name is Samuel Moore. I'm a tax agent. So you're welcome to the profession. And I work for Grandton, but I'm here on behalf of ISPAC. I was actually meant to facilitate this particular session, but the Prime Cabinet Minister has done justice to it. I like his sober way of handling things, and Prime Cabinet Secretary, may I tell you, this place, there was anger before you came, but I think you've done some justice. 2-3 things. You had mentioned, or you told us to stop living a lie, but I'd also throw probably a bottle back to you and say, our leaders should also stop making promises that make us live a lie. Because one of the things that was mentioned was like, how do you expect the price of gas to go down, and yet it is heavily taxed? And at times we hear that we intend to actually construct 100 dams in 5 years, yet in the last 10 years we were not able to do even 5 stadiums. Subsidies, when Prime Cabinet Secretary, just to let you know, it was good idea but bad for the government because it has left oil marketers in a very bad position. I'm privy of some of which are our clients where they are owed millions of Kenyan shillings and they are now at the mercies of banks. In case they want to call their overdraft, they will not be able to do anything. But also, what really makes probably most of us not very comfortable with the promises that we are getting is that we see a lot of negative stories coming from the government. If we are to live within our means, let also the government live within its means. Because when we hear stories that we are spending 4 million shillings on hospitality in a day, and yet there are people who are starving, people enjoying foreign trips and per diem just to go to Israel to know how to navigate drought, when an Israeli can come to Kenya and train 1,000 people in one go, then we fail to understand what is the priority of this government. Thank you.
Thank you. The good lady, well-dressed, gender, desk office, you dear. Very well. Okay. Good.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. My name is Salma Ochieng, a youth in this country and also a woman. We cannot talk about growth and run away from politics. We cannot talk about growth and run away from leadership. Your Excellency, you've been an experienced political leader in this country. Now we are looking at a position of sustainability, and we have also talked about sustainability. Now, my question, there's a conversation going around amongst Kenyans on the need of political parties to merge, to form one party, going the way of Tanzania, South Africa, and the United States of America. Now that we have representation of almost all political parties here, and I appreciate Professor seated next to me here, what is your advice? What is your take? What are you telling Kenyans for purposes of sustainability? Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. That is upcoming deputy president in future. Can we give to the lady here, please? The lady here. The lady here. I will only pick those I had given, please, for now. Good.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Molin. I am from the Technical University of Kenya and USPAC. And my question this afternoon, from the line that His Excellency gave us earlier, that it's a series of omissions and commissions. So, my controversial question on democratic development, there are offices that have been introduced by the current government of the spouses and maybe the first daughters and sons, and to these there are no incurrences of expenditure that will be inquired by the offices. Instead, why don't such expenditure be taken elsewhere, in for instance, help for us university students? Right now, we are not receiving our help as it was supposed to be initially, like in other government and everything. So, how is this offices relevant to the cause that you are facing as a country?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. The other one. The gentleman here, please. Give it to the gentleman and the good lady, and you are done. We want to recognize the position SG Omoni Sifuna, and perhaps Kenyans knows why he's late. Probably has been passing somewhere, and you want to update us how far you have gone. Thank you very much. Can you give the gentleman, please?
Hello everyone, good afternoon. My name is Dinkins Ogola. I'm from KMTC, Nairobi campus, but I'm here under AIF Nairobi, UN. First of all, I would like to echo Mr. Malala for his great work he's doing in the Western region. Actually, he's the only politician I've ever known to fulfill his promise. When he gives us the tournament, he will always fund it successfully. Thank you for that. The second thing I'd like to say is that to ask the question to the PM is that you said when you were campaigning that this state capture, and that we are going to work on that so that everybody, every institution, the institutions are going to be independent. But actually, of late, I don't know if it's that their independence has made them to fall. Some of them, like the office of the ODPP, this guy has decided to throw away the cases without giving us any reason. These cases are touching the individuals in the top government officials. And these people, we have been given, even their account that were frozen, were back to them, and there is no reason as to why they have been given those funds. There is no reason, we have not been told why are those cases thrown away. The second thing is on even the EFCC, even on the judiciary. Recently, you remember they gave us a judgment, a ruling that was totally against our customs, against our tradition as Christians and as Africans, and you people talked nothing about it. Some of you are just sugarcoating it, that they'll come to see it. No, then the last one.
Yes. Yes.
The last one.
Yes.
It's on the question the Alliance Ministry. You know, there's a question we posed to the PM that he didn't respond on. I think maybe that's because it was attaching indirectly the question that maybe also I said. Senior, may you give us the elaboration on the same so that we get to know. And even to my concern, that the office, you've always been the champion of protecting the Constitution. And I've always seen you on every platform saying that Constitution must be protected. But to my understanding is that the post you are holding is not in the Constitution. Just a moment. Right now, we are told that there is posts that are created in the government. People are claiming they are funds. They are claiming you have, like, the shortage. If you say you have, I don't know, 1 trillion. Let's continue. Let me say, these offices, let's relax. These offices are funded. These offices have staff. These offices are staff, even they are given vehicles that are serviced and fed by the government, are funds. So you people should tell us if you are creating these offices, yet we need money to start to settle those bills, to feed people, and you are creating such offices. Thank you. Explain to us. Thank you.
You made your point. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Asante sana. Let's give to the gentleman here. Thank you so much. Let's give to the lady here. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Though you mentioned Malala is not here, tutapeleka ujumbe kwa Malala. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Miriam Opondo. Maybe it's a question or a recommendation, I'm not very sure, but it's touching on the issues of persons with disabilities. Section 54A of the Constitution talks about 5% opportunities for persons with disabilities in every public service whenever we have any opportunity. But my concern is with the word progressive, because when you say progressive, it means that when you're having these appointments in public service and other areas, you will say that maybe progressive should wait until later. So that is why persons with disabilities are not getting these positions. So I think maybe it would be good if that word progressive, you see a way of getting it out of the Constitution, because we really need these positions as persons with disabilities. We need equity, as you spoke about it, and we also need employment just like anyone else. So if we are talking about this 5% realization and we're saying it's progressive, it may just be postponed for many years to come.
Thank you.
So maybe we could look for a way of getting this word progressive out of the Constitution. Otherwise, people will keep saying, after all, it's progressive, so let's just wait until the other year.
Thank you.
So people with disabilities need access to health, access to education, access to each and every sector in this country. But if you say progressive, then maybe we may never get there. So I think for me that is a concern, so that we can have equity. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Can we get the wisdom of Professor Lonyangapuoat for a minute, so that when I give to the Prime Cabinet Secretary we are done, and then I'll give Prof. Very good. Thank you so much. Professor Lonya.
Thank you. The Prime Cabinet Secretary and colleagues. I'm very proud, sir, having listened the way you are responding and the way you are handling the concerns that are coming from Kenyans. I've been one of the facilitators and we participated in the forums that have been going since yesterday, especially in the Center for Democracy. And I am so happy with the interaction that we are setting for us as Kenyans. And this is the way to go, so that we can be able to ask raw data that we think we need to be asked. We don't know, and we even do that we know. So what we learned, we were discussing on here. See, we don't have to ask. Kenya has been a multi-party state for 11 years. We are single democracy, single state for 50 years. And we have countries that have been having multi-party for the last 200 years, 150 years. So to me, I want to propose that the open space that we are seeing now, coming from the current government and the future governments, we really need to participate as Kenyans to make sure that we propose what we think should come out to be followed for the sake of our people, but not also that we have common values that don't change. For this country, for us to continue to be one. And we should not fast track our democracy to be equivalent in life in the 200 years. We can't. So the challenges we have, we continue living together, but we need to have safeguards. And I'm proud that the Prime Minister, Secretary, and the others who are in government, and those of us who are also outside, are putting the nation at the heart of our movement so that we don't go beyond that. Otherwise, I'm happy to listen and tell my friend, Professor Victor Bonnet around. I am on leave for a few more years before I come back.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Therefore, I would love to welcome His Excellency so that he can be able to respond and to give up his partition. Welcome, sir.
Okay. I'll start with the Sam Mora from Granton and Thornton. I think this is a complex issue, as I said earlier, the issue of the subsidy and around the fuel challenges. When the government of RUTO, which I'm serving in, took the decision on the subsidy, is because we realized that the subsidy was causing more hemorrhage to the economy than what it intended to cure. All right? And I gave the figure of about 20 billion per month, which was supposed to be raised to fund the subsidy. It was clearly not sustainable. Clearly there are some teething problems, even as we speak, on how we can improve on the fuel supply flow in the country, and that we shall do. But clearly we are not going back to the road of subsidies. Okay? There are other issues that relate to the foreign exchange issues, and conversations are going on in government. To what extent should there be intervention or no intervention, so that if that opens up appropriately, the market will help in stabilizing this particular issue. So it's a conversation and a thought process that we are going into government. The others have heard you, the issue of how we can continue to make sure that unnecessary expenses or expenditure is literally being eliminated. So we will work on that path. Salma Ocheng, on the issue of whether parties should merge or not, we are here at the Center for Multi-Party Democracy. The Center for Multi-Party Democracy. I don't know what more I can say. To enhance democracy, political parties are recognized in our constitution. They are then cultivated, they have structures, and if there is going to be any alteration whatsoever There are democratic processes rooted in the constitutions of those particular parties that will guide the process for such a decision if it becomes necessary. So at this stage, what I would like to tell people, if you are to ask me, the competing challenges we have the drought, we have the fight to bring the cost of living down, we have to deal with the pending bills and so forth. To me, the issue of a merger or non-merger is actually at the bottom of the priorities when we leverage what we are supposed to be doing. So I think let us move forward and see how we can move forward without diverting attention from the core issues. And the core issues, in my view, are those that are being talked about in this forum. Now, let me come to Anne. Was it Anne? Yes. Anne, and to some extent, Dixon Ogola. You have raised a very fundamental issue about officers in public space and so forth. I think it's healthy that this conversation takes place. All right? So I want to make it clear to the people here is that from a personal level, if I speak specifically to Musalia, I want to make it very clear that there is no public expenditure that has occurred in the conversation around Musalia. And I don't see any public expenditure occurring because I fully appreciate that activities of this nature are not government activities. They are social, philanthropic interventions that we make. And for the avoidance of doubt, Mrs. Musadavi has been at this process, whether I was in government or whether I was not in government. And we shall not stop supporting people in any part of the country through charitable efforts. But I am very clear that it shall not be at the expense of the exchequer. Now, there are some cases that you say were dropped. I'll be very careful here because this is an independent office, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. I'm not privy to the details in the files that are before him. So if there are any issues, his office remains the best office to be able to respond to those particular issues. I can only make comments that will be viewed as second guessing or presumptuous. So it would be better that at an appropriate time, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions will handle that directly. The same goes for the EACC. The EACC will also explain itself when the time comes. I don't know if Ogola and others, if you will go back in history, because that one I know is safe territory, I can talk to it without difficulty, but the retired president, I think in his first term, either his first term or second term, he went to Parliament and he spoke to Parliament and tabled a report about EACC cases and when they are supposed to be done, when they are not supposed to be done, and all that. If you go back to the Hansard, you will see that report. And if I recollect, that created a very big problem for him because it was perceived that he had interfered with the mandate of the EACC. And indeed, some of the cases that he cited, the lawyers who are very bright went to court and said that there was no due process, no free process, and some of those cases collapsed. So it is better that independent agencies like the EACC handle their matter independently, and from where I stand, it would not be prudent for me to comment on that. The issue of the judiciary is the same. We may not like what the judges have ruled, but it is their domain. It is a constitutional position. And they are there to make their decisions. They may be in our favor, they may be against us. But where we are, as a country that respects the rule of law, we have no option but to accept the decisions of the court. And more so when it was the last court, the highest court, making a decision. So I'm not a lawyer, but if there is any reason that somebody wanted to review, I think the lawyers can argue if there are ways of seeking a review over something like that. I'm not an expert in that field, so I cannot speak to it. But we cannot run away from the fact that we need to respect the constitutional lanes as they have been provided for. I am a cabinet secretary. Properly vetted by Parliament, ratified by Parliament, then gazetted and formally given my letter of appointment by the President of the Republic of Kenya in accordance with the Constitution. Mr. Ogola, I would be happy to serve you when you come to my office if the need arises. So, the final question that I want to put to Miriam. I remember you, Miriam. We were with you in some of the various fora where you stood out very honorably on behalf of the people with disabilities, and I think your message is clear that the issue of dealing with those challenges need to be accelerated so that we don't use the word progressive, but we just look at it and say, let us implement and let us do it very fast. Thank you. I think that was my final bit, but I want to say to the Vice Chairman and to the facilitators, asante sana. Thank you for your reactions. Thank you for your comments. This has been very enriching, and God willing, if my health is perfect, I hope I will be here again with you on another occasion. Asante sana, and God bless you all.
Thank you. I think you deserve a much better hand clap, more than that you've done. We have